Just was, say we hung out once or twice.
Yeah.
And then I used that once or twice as like a motive to say, oh yeah, so he did this and this and that, this and this and that, just to get a couple $1,000s from you because you gonna pay to interview me about you because you that nigga.
I said, if I ever did something like to you, forgive me.
Yeah.
Shit like that, like just taking accountability and like uplifted my group. That's why I said I could do this shit alone, but nothing like the bros.
Cardi B just dropped courtroom drama hotter than July pavement, testifying against Chrisean Rock, not because she beefed with her, but because sis allegedly slid into Offset's sheets for revenge. And baby, if you thought this summer was quiet, think again. Our wigs are officially on fire. Cardi B herself spilled it, straight under oath, no filters, no edits. And let's be clear, this wasn't about Offset sneaking out of some club last night. Nah, this was Cardi confirming in front of the judge that Chrisean once crept into Offset's bed back when Cardi was still fighting to hold that marriage together. Who does that? This isn't gossip, it's sworn testimony. And we all know Cardi treats the courthouse like it's Paris Fashion Week. From the Queen Strip Club brawl to that jaw-dropping $4 million win against blogger Tasha K, to dragging folks back in with endless enforcement hearings, Cardi knows every inch of that judge's chambers. So when she was pulled back in this month over another lingering civil case, nobody blinked. But here's where jaws dropped. While testifying, Cardi went off script. Out of nowhere, she dragged Chrisean's name into the spotlight, and insiders swear they heard it loud and clear. Offset had been with Rock, period. The courtroom froze, reporters gasped, even the stenographer probably had to double check the keys. And that's just the beginning, because if Cardi's ready to spill this much tea while under oath, imagine what else is coming next. Don't go nowhere. Like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment, because trust me, you don't want to miss what's waiting in this story.
She didn't touch me.
Okay.
She didn't get to touch me, no. She was going to touch me, but she didn't get to touch me.
Offset and Chrisean Rock's name in the same sentence? Yep, Cardi B made it official with her own Bronx twang, and the courtroom fell silent like someone cut the mic. This wasn't rumor, this wasn't fan fiction, this was sworn testimony on the record, no takebacks. When something gets stamped in court, you can't brush it off as messy gossip anymore. It's written in black and white. And let's be real, people didn't even flinch hearing Offset's name dragged back into scandal. His track record has him looking like the boy who cried fidelity. Every time he swears he's gonna treat Cardi right, some fresh receipts slide out of nowhere. And Chrisean, chaos is her middle name. She's been smashing bottles, breaking hearts, and crashing timelines since the day she showed up in the spotlight. So Cardi saying those two linked up in the bedroom didn't sound wild, it almost made too much sense. But here's where it gets spicy. Cardi didn't have to say a word. Nobody asked, nobody subpoenaed Offset's past, nobody even hinted at that lane. She just dropped it raw, unprovoked, like the thought had been camped out in her head for years waiting to bust free. That slip tells you everything. There's still pain living in her spirit. You could practically hear her voice bite through the air. I ain't gonna let them play me. I know exactly what went down, man. And while that moment might have been healing for Cardi, the internet wasn't about to let her slide. The backlash came fast. Half the crowd screamed, "She's telling the truth," while the other half clapped back, "Why even drag this out now?" But that's Hollywood, right? Celebs hide hookups, pregnancies, and full-blown affairs like it's their side hustle, only for it to leak years later when nobody's ready. Cardi confirming it now didn't just stir the pot. It gave those old whispers brand new legs to run on. And the timing, suspicious as hell. People started buzzing that maybe she was hiding something else, tossing this bomb out to distract from another secret lurking in the shadows. That's when the courtroom murmur exploded into a full-blown storm. The second Cardi dropped Chrisean's name under oath, the streets went wild with theories. Everyone and their auntie spun the narrative their own way. And baby, the spin cycle on this one could light up an entire city block. Here's why it slapped different. Cardi isn't new to messy headlines. We've seen her snap on IG lives, clap back at subs on Twitter, drag bloggers into million-dollar lawsuits. But this wasn't one of those stunts. This was her sitting in a courtroom speaking on record with Uncle Sam's stamp behind it. That ain't gossip. That's government-certified receipts. Folks read it like Cardi had finally hit her breaking point. Instead of swallowing Offset's mess in silence, she cracked open the vault herself. And let's not ignore the context. Cardi and Offset are officially done, which made that slip feel less like bitter wife energy and more like a woman finally free to say, yeah, he embarrassed me, and here's one of the ways. It was closure, but with claws sharp enough to scratch up reputations. Now flip the lens to Chrisean Rock, and things get layered quick. When this alleged Offset fling went down, Chrisean was in peak chaos mode. Throwing hands with Blueface in the street, smashing bottles on camera, crying on IG Live like she was starring in her own soap opera. Fast forward to today, she's a mom. She's been preaching growth, and she's even been trying to rebrand herself as more than the wild one with Blueface. The glow up was happening, but Cardi's courtroom slip just dragged her right back into the mud. Cardi tossing Chrisean's name back into Offset's mess felt like ripping open an old scar for the world to see. Some fans slammed Cardi, saying she was wrong for dragging it back up when Chrisean's been trying to flip the page, but others doubled down. Growth or not, she did what she did, and Cardi had every right to finally say it loud, clear, and under oath. And let's be real, Chrisean's unpredictability is her trademark. Even now in her motherhood era, nobody knows what she'll do next. She could cry, laugh, clap back with a freestyle diss track, or just ignore the noise, but betting on Chrisean to stay quiet has never been safe. Meanwhile, Offset, Lord, if silence was an Olympic sport, he'd have gold medals stacked to the ceiling. Not a denial, not a shady emoji, not even a cryptic lyric, just radio silence. And with his history, that silence speaks louder than words. Offset's been exposed so many times that even if he's innocent, the public won't hand him the benefit of the doubt. His name is so tainted, every rumor sticks by default. Cardi's courtroom confirmation didn't just sting Chrisean, it reminded everybody why Offset's reputation is dragging in the dirt in the first place. And of course, the internet wasted zero time turning this into a circus. The comment section turned into an all-out boxing match. Barty gang screaming, "Stop coming for Cardi's family. She's telling her truth." Chrisean's defenders firing back, "She don't need Offset, Cardi's just bitter." And the trolls? Whew. They had a field day calling Offset community property and flooding timelines with memes that won't die anytime soon. Here's the real gag though. By speaking on it, Cardi gave the story fresh legs. By not clapping it down, Chrisean fueled it. And by staying silent, Offset let it marinate. That's the recipe gossip lives on. And this one, it's not fading anytime soon. This whole saga ain't running on facts. It's powered by everybody's spin. 3 players, 3 strategies, 3 different games. Cardi wants closure, Chrisean wants clout, and Offset, he just wants quiet. Meanwhile, the fans, baby, they don't want peace, they want blood. And let's be honest, none of this chaos would even sound believable if the history books weren't already stacked against all 3. You don't get a rumor this juicy unless the past is messy enough to make it stick. And child, when it comes to baggage, Cardi, Offset, and Chrisean have more luggage than a Spirit Airlines check-in line at holiday season. Start with Cardi. Sis has always worn her heart on her sleeve. When she's hurt, silence is never her lane. She doesn't do private pain, she does public spectacle. Remember when Offset crashed her Rolling Loud set back in 2018, begging with flowers and take me back signs after one of his cheating scandals? That wasn't just a stunt, it was a public walk of shame. Cardi's pattern has been the same for years. Forgive, try again, explode, expose. Every time Offset embarrassed her, she clapped back, whether it was with screenshots, fiery rants, or a razor-sharp lyric. So her confirming in court that Chrisean was part of Offset's rotation, that fits her brand to a T. If you humiliate Cardi, she's gonna humiliate you right back. Only this time, the stage wasn't Instagram Live or Coachella, it was a courtroom. And that made it sting 1,000 times harder. Then there's Offset. Woo! His history of scandals could fill a double-disc mixtape on its own. From whispers about side pregnancies to endless IG model stories, his loyalty's been stress-tested more times than a sketchy Wi-Fi connection. He's been caught lacking so often, fans used to joke that Cardi needed to microchip him just to keep track. That's exactly why this Chrisean rumor slid in so smoothly. Nobody even paused to ask for proof. Offset's reputation is the proof. Offset's past already poisoned the well, so now his silence doesn't read neutral. It reads guilty. People are conditioned to assume the worst from him because when your track record is a scrapbook of scandals, innocence doesn't matter. In the court of public opinion, you're guilty the second you say nothing. Now slide Chrisean Rock into the mix. Back when this alleged Offset hookup went down, she was knee-deep in the Blueface circus. Fistfights in the streets, missing teeth, crying on IG Live like it was a pay-per-view special. That version of Chrisean, nobody would have blinked if you said she snuck into Offset's bed. She was chaos in human form. But today's Chrisean is trying to flip the script. She's a mother now, calmer, at least in flashes, preaching growth and working overtime to bury the crazy with Blueface label. That's what makes Cardi's courtroom confession hit so hard. It dragged old Chrisean out of the grave just as the new Chrisean was trying to rewrite her story. It was like Cardi ripped open a wound Chrisean thought had scarred over, and the internet loves that kind of regression drama. Here's the bigger picture though. Cardi has always used the truth like a weapon. Offset has always provided enough ammo for the truth to sting. And Chrisean, she's always leaned into whatever narrative keeps her name trending. Put those three reputations together and you get a courtroom slip that didn't feel like a shock. It felt like the next inevitable chapter in a saga too messy to die. And let's be real, Cardi, Offset, and Chrisean ain't the first love triangle dripping in chaos, and Lord knows they won't be the last. But this one, it's got all the ingredients to stay stamped in pop culture's messy Hall of Fame. Hollywood and hip-hop been running the same tired script since forever, powerful men with wandering eyes, fiery women trying to protect their names, and the internet refereeing like it's WrestleMania. This whole Cardi Offset Chrisean saga, it's just the 2025 remix of a classic storyline. Think back to the Chris Brown Rihanna Carueche chaos. Whew, that triangle had the blogs punching the clock like a full-time job for years. Rihanna was the untouchable icon, Carueche was the steady girlfriend, and Chris, he couldn't stay in one lane to save his life. The public didn't even need proof. Folks just fed on the drama like it was gospel. Sound familiar? Offset's cruising that exact same highway now. He's become the kind of man whose name sticks to scandal, guilty or not, simply because the dirt fits his pattern too perfectly. Or take Khloe Kardashian, Tristan Thompson, and Jordan Woods. Child. We all binged that drama like it was a Netflix original series. Tristan couldn't stay loyal if you chained him to a church pew. In Jordan, all she had to do was exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. And boom, she got branded the villain for years while the man skated off with excuses. That's the poison in these messy triangles. One woman always ends up carrying the scarlet letter, while the man, who's the real common denominator, dodges accountability. Right now, Cardi's courtroom confession paints Chrisean as the Jordan Woods of her story. Offset's been the repeat problem, but Chrisean's the one getting dragged through headlines and memes. And don't get me started on Future, his baby mama lineup is longer than a CVS receipt. Every time another name drops, nobody even blinks. The internet just shrugs and says, yeah, that tracks. His reputation makes every fresh allegation believable by default. Same with Offset. Once a man brands himself community property, every rumor feels true before the receipts even land. No rumor about Offset ever feels too wild, but let's really talk about the women caught up in these setups, because they are not interchangeable pieces on a board. Cardi, she's like Khloe in one sense, always forgiving the man everyone told her not to trust. But she's also got Rihanna's fire. When she's done, and she'll torch the whole stage on her way out. Chrisean, though, she's got Jordan Woods' energy but cranked up on chaos steroids. Jordan stayed quiet, played her redemption arc slow and steady. Chrisean, she'll hop on IG Live with a baby on her hip and scream, yeah, I did it, so what? That's the difference. Her scandal style is unapologetic and explosive. And here's the gag. These triangles are rarely about love. They're about ego, image, and who the public decides to crown as victim or villain. Cardi's courtroom slip flipped her role overnight. From scorned wife to bold truth teller, Chrisean got thrown back into the fire as the alleged betrayer. And Offset? He's Future Jr., the predictable denominator everyone already expects to be the problem. So yeah, we've seen this movie before. The cast changes, the names get louder, but the script stays the same. Messy men, mad women, and the internet running Judge Judy court sessions over Wi-Fi. Now the question is, where does this circus leave everybody? That's the part that matters more than the rumor itself. For Cardi B, this little courtroom spill could actually work in her favor. She's always thrived on brutal honesty, even when it's ugly. Fans already see her as the say it with your chest queen. So confirming that Offset once messed with Chrisean doesn't stain her image. It doubles down on her reputation as the woman who refuses to swallow humiliation in silence. But here's the flip side. It also drags up wounds people thought were buried with Offset years ago. And reopening old scars always comes with a price. The streets are side-eyeing hard, whispering, sis, are you really over him or are you just bleeding in public? For Chrisean Rock, the timing couldn't be messier. She's mid-rebrand, new mom, fresh faith, talking God, talking growth, trying to bury the blueface chaos once and for all. But Cardi dragging her name into court yanked old Chrisean right out the grave. Denial or not, the rumor alone paints her as reckless, messy, and ready to burn bridges just to stay lit. Every step forward feels like 2 steps back. Offset doesn't come out clean either. His silence screams louder than words. His brand was shaky before, his rep already stained. Now just being linked to Chrisean is another L on his scoreboard. He looks like future light and forever stamped as community property, no matter how many verses he drops. That shadow is permanent and fans ain't letting him outrun it. And here's the kicker, Cardi blasting this out wasn't really about Chrisean or Offset, it was about control. She grabbed the mic and reclaimed her narrative, even if it meant dragging them both through the mud. But child, in trying to prove she wasn't the fool, Cardi might have reminded the world that Offset's mess is still tangled up in her story too. That's the real gag. Revenge confessions cut both ways and everybody bleeds in the end. So what do you think? Did Cardi just checkmate the game or did she cut herself in the crossfire? Drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I'll see you on the next one.